Welcome back to Pipeline Profits, where we discuss the best practices of sales and marketing, specifically in the real estate industry. But if you're not in the real estate industry, there's still going to be some amazing golden nuggets for you today. We are super excited with the guest that we've got. Ryan, tell them all about who we've got on the pod today.
Yeah, so today we've got someone that if you are familiar with Toronto real estate and you have Instagram, you've probably followed this guy and have seen a ton of him. He leads one of the fastest growing teams in the GTA real estate market. He is an avid Leafs fan, which means with all the springs and summers off, he has become an obsessed golfer. None other than Dave Hutchison of the Dave Hutchinson. What's your real estate team's name? DJH Realty Group.
I'm rebranding as we speak, but I'm not like there. I got everything done. I just got to do some final tweaks, but I'm rebranding. Actually, it's advice that you gave me, Ryan. You gave me that advice it was the Buzz conference. We were talking about it. I think it was like 3 years ago when I had my first team member. It was the advice that you gave me, and it stuck with me ever since.
It only took you 3 years to do it, though.
to rebrand.
A lot of implementation. I had to do all these things.
Well, I think that's actually a good topic to get started with, because I'm sure any of our listeners or viewers have probably thought about this in the past. So what was the catalyst to make the move to the rebrand? We can kind of start there. And then I would love to know the pros and cons of going through the process.
So the advice that Ryan gave me, am I allowed to say that, Ryan? Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah,
that's good advice. Yeah. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to have a team that's very systemized. Everyone does the exact same thing. And I'm not about to take credit for other people's work, I don't think. And that's part of the reason why I think I've grown my team so quickly. And, I know it was difficult for them to, if I want everybody to be branded the same on my team, it's kind of weird for somebody to put my initials on their branding. And a lot of people kind of are hesitant to that because it just doesn't look good. It's not, when they go to a listing presentation or a buyer presentation, they have DJH, my initials. They're like, well, who's this? I want to talk to this guy. But I don't want that. I want to be able to, have a team that has the exact same processes and systems across the board. It doesn't matter if I show up or Kendall shows up or Hanny shows up or John, we're all the same across the board. So I wanted to remove my name from the team and make it just like a name for the team that we can all use, that we're all proud of. But what took me the longest was I didn't want just a name. I wanted it to mean something. I wanted to have an actual meaning behind it, a motto, which is cool. So thankfully, my brokerage helped me a little bit with some rebranding, coming up with like why I wanted to make the name I chose and the background behind it, the meaning behind it, why I think it fits our team, which is really cool. My team is very unique, I think, in a lot of ways. We have people from all different walks of life. I have parents on the team. I got younger people on the team. I have people that have other jobs on my team. I have people that live in different cities on my team, different ages, everything. So I think we're very unique. And what I've created is such a cool little culture, which is different. And the way I structure my team with a tiered process is very different as well. So I just wanted something that was super unique to what we're doing.
That's awesome. When can we expect the rebrand potentially?
This year for sure. Before the end of the summer. Summer.
Okay, well, so that's coming up quickly.
Soon.
3 years in the making. I love it.
3 years. Yeah. Ryan gave me that advice at the Buzz conference literally 3 years ago. That was I think one of the first things I think we talked about. You said, "Oh, I see you're going to team. Maybe you should take your name out of it." And I was like, at the time, I think all new team members, you make a team because you almost want to flex a little bit. Like I got a team. It's Dave Hutchinson team. But the more you get into it, the more you realize that it doesn't matter.
It's not about you. It's about them.
Not about me. Exactly. It's about my team. And if they're successful, I'm successful. So I almost would rather pour the money to make them happy, because the more they're happy, the more we all win. So that was
So when I came up to you and gave you that advice, were you like, "Who the fuck is this guy, and who does he think that he is?" Like, does this guy know who I am? Like, my name is the brand.
No, I knew who you were. I followed you, I think. I knew you had your spring team thing going on, and I knew that you guys were successful. And the one thing I find in the city, and this isn't to like slight anybody because I was there too, I think there's a lot of teams in real estate, and there's real teams and there's not real teams, and having a team isn't just having people that work for you. It's having the systems in place, having the support systems, having everything aligned so that your team is ready to go and actually be successful. You know, having the scripting, having everything. It's not just having people under you doing the stuff that you don't want to do. And I knew that, you know, you had those systems in place, you had a team. And that was my goal. I mean, of course, I think when everybody starts out creating their own team, you're kind of winging it a little bit, and you grow as you learn, right? But
from a branding perspective, because this has taken longer than Ryan anticipated, we'll say. What has been what are some lessons that you've learned through the rebrand though? Because I know there's some really eye-opening, like inspiring things that happen as a part of rebrand. There's also a lot of very frustrating things. So Can you talk a little bit about that for anybody that may be interested in that?
For sure. I think I would sit down and have a proper plan in place on how you're going to roll out your rebrand. I'm such an impulse person that like when I have an idea, I just do it. So I got a whole new website, designed it for DJH Realty. And then like 2 weeks later, I looked at it and I was like, I don't like it. I'm going to change it now. So now I have to like rebrand everything, rebrand my website. I have to change all the emails for all my team members. I have to change a domain name, which I thankfully look at your domain, make sure it's available first, because I actually was between two names. And the one that I liked a little more, it wasn't available. And it was like 12 or like a super expensive domain name. And I was like, nah, I don't like it that much. So, you know, make sure you have like all your ducks in a row before you jump and commit to something. Because I committed to the name. I liked the name. I liked the meaning behind it. I worked with a company to do the rebrand. I think that was actually super important. It's more than just going on Fiverr and thinking of a cool name or going on ChatGPT and typing in some stuff that you like. I sat down with the branding company and they went over like why I want to rebrand, what my team does differently, how I differentiate myself, our methods, our systems, why I think we're unique. And that's how we kind of came up with the name. It wasn't just like a name off ChatGPT. And they took into consideration everything from the different colors we use to the font we use to the name, the motto, all that kind of stuff. But my biggest advice is honestly, take your time with it, but do it right and think of everything, because I just jumped in, chose a name, and thank the Lord that the domain was available, because it was very close to not being available. Make sure you're gonna have to launch. You're gonna have to change a lot of things, all your emails, your website, your business cards, your Instagram, everything, right? So my advice is just to kind of like pre-plan. Don't just jump into it like I did.
So at this point, you've built out the brand. You've got, how many, 15 people on your team now?
16 as of tomorrow.
Okay, so it's still 15 today. I'm not incorrect. Let's just get to that. So 16. So you got 16 people on team. It's grown super quickly. Like I didn't even realize when we were talking last week or a couple of weeks ago, I didn't even realize you had grown that much, which is amazing. Yeah. This has all happened very quickly for you. Can you give us a bit of like the background of like what got you into sales, how you got into sales?
Yeah.
Was real estate your first sales, and why did you decide on real estate?
I wanted to go back to law school. I finished my undergrad at Laurier. I wanted to go back to law school. My parents are super middle class. They're like farmers. Like my mom, this is not me a flex, but like my mom has no idea how much money I make. I drove my first Range Rover home. My mom was like, didn't even bat an eye, like didn't even know what it is. It could have been a Lamborghini, and she'd be like, is that good? I don't know. My parents are super, super, super middle class. They live outside of London, Ontario, farmers. Like they live in a little bubble. In order for me to pay for school, my parents didn't have the money to do it. And I had to figure out a way to make some money. My neighbor at the time, she was a realtor. She still is a realtor. And she was like, hey, look, if you want to make some money, why don't you come work with me on my team? And she was, and still to this day, like we don't talk much anymore, but she's unbelievable. She was like crazy, had this system down pat with leasing. She was one of the only people that was like the inventor of Toronto leasing. I swear, she had the craziest systems, and she taught me a lot. So basically my first sales job, was real estate. I didn't have any entrepreneurial skills before. I had no sales skills, no business skills. Just jumped into real estate. And that was like my first year when I did like 197 leases. And I'm not even lying about that. I know when I tell people now, they're like, come on, it's way different. Like back then you'd take out 5 clients a day and you'd put in like 3 offers and they'd get at least 1 or 2. It was way different market. Also, prices weren't $2,500 for a 1-bedroom. So for the new realtors out there, I don't think I'm like some superhero. It's just the market was a bit different. It was a bit easier and not as competitive. There was also a lot less realtors, I think, at the time. That was part one of how my first sales. Yeah, so that's that. How I started the team. That was the second part of the question.
No, the second part of the question was like, why did you decide on real estate?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't really. I never had an intention on being here. Like I thought I'd go into real estate. I'd make like $100 grand or something in a year or two. I'd pay for school and then I'd never do real estate ever again. I actually, at the time, my ex-girlfriend's dad was like, you should do it. Like you are a personable person. Go sell real estate. And my preconceived image of realtors before I was a realtor was like, and that's going to sound bad, but like drug dealers that were, didn't go to school and they were like trying to sell me real estate when they were 22. And I'm like, dude, I'm so broke right now. Or like, they just weren't the best people. So I had this bad image, like, oh, I don't want to be a realtor. I would never be a realtor. But he kind of pushed me in that direction, and meeting my neighbor, she pushed me as well. And she showed me that, there's a lot of money to be made in this industry if you have the discipline and the work ethic and, the market knowledge. And she's amazing at what she does. And she just taught me everything she could in a year. And that's kind of how I got here. No intention on being where I was today. I don't think anybody wakes up or goes to high school and they're like, you know what? I can't wait to graduate and be a realtor. It's very, very few and far between, unless your family's in real estate or something. But if your family's not in real estate, I don't know anybody that's waking up, trying to go to real estate school. I think my parents would probably kick me out of the house if I said I wanted to be a realtor at 17. So
I think today's slightly different because we've got, YouTube and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But I think when all three of us got our licenses, it wasn't the sexiest career. It was just kind of this sounds like a great idea at the time.
It wasn't $1 million listings New York and all of that great stuff.
You were $1,000 leases Toronto. That would have been our show.
Yeah, that would have been a good one on that one for sure.
I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit because I know that like 197 leases, you don't do 197 leases without having things really dialed in. So if there's anybody that's listening that is doing leases, or I'm new and I'm getting my license, can you give me 3 tips that, any new agent should take into consideration to like really dialing in those systems so that they can do some more business? Yeah,
I think first and foremost, you need a CRM. There's only one agent I know, that Justin Bregman. This guy makes it. I don't even know. He's a different animal, but he doesn't have a CRM, so let's not exclude him. I think you need. Yeah, it's crazy.
He doesn't have a CRM,
bro. No, he doesn't have a CRM. He's insane. He's just a machine. He's built different. He's just actually built different. I don't know how and whatever. The best. He's the greatest dude ever. Anyways, dominates. I think as a new agent, you need a CRM. There's no way around it. I think you'll be so unsuccessful if you don't have a proper CRM. It doesn't have to be the best CRM. And even if you don't have like some fancy CRM, at least be keeping some sort of spreadsheet of the people you talk to. That was my number one biggest mistake and biggest regret, hands down, was that my first like 4 or 5 months in real estate, I must have met hundreds of people and helped them and just don't even know who they are, because I was like, whatever, it's a lease, whatever, it's $1,400 lease. What are they going to, and I never contacted them ever again because I don't know who they are. So that's my first thing is can keep a CRM. That's my tip number 1. And the reason why it's so important, which is tip number 2, is you need to make sure that you're in constant communication with these people. I think I say this to a lot of my new agents, and I honestly feel cheesy saying it sometimes, but it's just so accurate. I don't think it's just real estate related. It's business related, but the people that are the most successful, I think, in real estate and business are the ones that are okay and understand that they're going to be putting in consistent work without any sort of instant gratification. It's going to come years down the road. And if you don't understand that, you won't be successful, I don't think, in real estate. I did so many leases in my first year, and thank God I was fortunate enough to be able to hire a coach in my third year actually. And at that point, I had, thousands of people in my database, and that's the whole reason why I think you should be doing leases. Don't get caught up in leases of trying to just get transactional and get that $1,000. It doesn't matter about the $1,000. It's the relationship you're building for future business. But my coach,
really interesting mentality around it, man. Like getting paid to acquire leads versus paying for and acquiring leads.
That's the thing, right? New realtors are usually like not doing so well financially. So I get calls all the time from new realtors. Oh, I just want more business. I'm going to sign up for Agent Locator. I'm going to do Boomtown. I'm like, or you could do leases for free, advertise them for free, make money from them. Not only are you making money, you're building lasting relationships if you nurture them properly. Two, you're going to learn your farm area for wherever you want to work, because with rentals, you can market wherever you want to work. So if you want to work downtown, post downtown listings. You want to work in Milton, post Milton listings. So for me, it was like, and I preach this a lot on podcasts, but it's like, I did so many leases my first couple of years that when I finally started getting to buyers and sellers in, year 3, year 4, it was like, I would walk in with my buyer, even if it's like a $600,000 buyer, whatever. I'd walk in with my buyer. I'd walk past the realtor with the piece of paper, trying to figure out where to go. And I'd be like, hey, Steve, to the concierge, what's going on? Hey, Dave, how are you? Good to see you, man. I'm going to go to the lockbox. And I'd be like, hey, by the way, the lockboxes are actually over here. And my client's like, oh, shit. And the other realtor would look kind of silly. I've been there 100,000 times. I'd be in the elevator and say, hey, actually, the amenities are on floor 6. You want to check out the pool? They have a pool, a gym, and yoga room. You want to see those? Cool. And I'd show them the thing. I'd know everything about the building. And my clients were like, how do you know all this? Oh, I've been here like 50, 60 times. I knew the clientele because I've been out of the building a million times. I knew what was around the building. So, I learned my farm area so well from all those leases. But that leads me to tip number 3 is when you have to remember the reason why you're doing leases. I think from my advice is you're doing the leases to build your database. You're not doing the leases to be transactional. You're doing the leases to build your database with people that like you, know you, trust you. And maybe they haven't even worked with you in the past or have never answered an email. But when I have anybody that inquires about any of my rental listings, they're automatically in my CRM. I'm staying in touch with those people forever, because I've had recently people on my database from 2018. They've been on a drip campaign since 2018. And then just recently be like, oh, I like that email. I am looking to buy now, actually. And I look back, they've never talked to me in 6 years. And they just liked that one email. It resonated with them. And they're like, oh, cool. So that's my advice is put these people in your database, because you need to stay in contact with them. You need to call them. You need to, send them emails, all that stuff.
I want to just echo that, because our most recent deal that we just did was a Facebook lead sign up from January of 2022. We had tried her a couple of times. I think we spoke with her maybe once. Our ISA spoke with her once, and she's been on a drip campaign ever since. And randomly reached out to go see a property, $1.6 million listing, $900,000 buy. Wow. One actual conversation with this person. So I really want to echo that those systems on the back end they're so overlooked by many agents. They're like, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to get more leads. I'm going to get more leads. But it's kind of like driving a transport truck with the back doors open, and you're just letting all the merchandise constantly fall out. When you're like, dude, just, what the easiest thing to do is? Just shut the door. And, if you just shut the door, you'll keep more of your merchandise. And I think a lot of people are just constantly in a lead acquisition mode, and they don't, follow up on the back half of it. And so for anybody listening, if you're looking for systems, you're like, I got leads coming in, but I'm not converting them, close the door on the truck. It's probably the quickest, easiest way for you to get more business.
That's a good analogy.
Yes. Like that. So obviously, one of the things that has made you so successful so early in your career is you realize the value of nurturing the database you were building, and you've done a really good job in systematizing your nurture process for, all of your leads or past clients, leasing clients, so on and so forth. And that's turned into a great resale business for you. And you realize that a lot quicker than most agents do. As you said, most agents love to burn money on leads and then not do anything with them, or pay for leads and not even have a CRM, or not even know what an action plan is or an email automation is. So that was one of your big advantages. But this is kind of a 2-part question for you as well. What would you say your number one natural sales ability is that's made you successful in sales? And then the second part of that is, what is a learned skill that you feel has made you a better salesperson since you first got into sales?
Okay, that's a good question. So the first part, I think I'm a naturally goofy guy. I know I'm big, I'm 6'4", I'm covered in tattoos. So I think people see me and they're like, but I'm super goofy. My natural thing is I like to think I actually make the sales process really fun. I'm never too serious. I'll give you I know my shit, and I show them that I know what I'm talking about, but I genuinely make the process fun because I think it should be fun. And when I was a new agent, I would see, I'm just really good at communication. I'm a Gemini. I love meeting people. I love talking. Like, my girlfriend, it drives her nuts. I'll go to the gym and I'll talk to, like, I know everybody because I'll just talk to random people. I'll go to a guy and be like, hey, I've seen you like twice before. What's your name? You know? And she's like, you're crazy, man. That's nuts. But I just like talking to people. Like, I genuinely enjoy talking. I walk my dog. This actually happened. It was last night, 2 nights ago. I was like 9:30. I was walking my dog, and usually it's like a 5-minute walk. And I didn't even realize, but I live at King in Portland, mess, but I know everybody down here. And it was a 45-minute walk. I didn't even realize. I came back and she's like, what were you doing? And I was like, oh, I saw like 7 people outside. I don't know, I just started talking to people. So anyways, that's my my natural thing. I think I just make it fun. I like to communicate. I'm not like an awkward person. I enjoy communicating with people. When I was new, I would see like realtors with their clients in lobbies, like not talking. And I was like, man, like that must suck. Like that would be so annoying.
So
like,
awkward.
Oh, like, and then you gotta like go and see them again, you know, like I already know it's not like, some people love it. Some people are just like, I just want to buy something, you know, like, let's just get this. Like, if I can make it fun, I make it fun. And the second thing is something I've learned is the proper language to like sales language to actually properly close people or push them in the right direction. That was actually probably the biggest issue in my business up until, honestly, this year. I've taken a lot of courses and a lot of like boot camps and masterminds and read a lot of books on the art of sales and the art of communication, because you're not actually being, I always thought like if I was going to push you to close or I never wanted to be pushy because I hate being pushy. But there's ways to guide people in the right direction and help them make the right decision if you use the proper language. Because I found I was having all these listing presentations. I was going in because of my bubbly personality and I was goofy and funny, but I knew my shit and I have a good brand awareness. I'd go to these listing presentations and at the end, I'd give them this amazing pitch that I've practiced so many times. And I'd be like, all right, well, call me. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, all right. And then I'd leave and I was like, why is no one calling me? Like, I don't understand. I'm calling these listings. What the fuck? There's no one calling me. And it's because, like people need to be told what's going to happen next. And if you don't tell them what's going to happen next, they're just going to sit and ponder, and maybe someone else comes in after and does tell them what's going to happen next. So that's something that's learned for me is the proper sales language. And I think it's actually super important, especially if you don't come from a sales background, which I didn't. So
for our listeners, to give them that piece of advice, what book or what course or what program was that you got this, that made that change in your business just in the last year?
Yeah, his name's Dale Arkden. Arkden is a script. I forget his name. Yeah, he's. I met him at Follow Up Boss events. He has like mini boot camps every once in a while where he'll just have like a mastermind of people, and you're just live scripting. So he'll pick out people you don't even have a choice. Like sometimes you get picked on, sometimes you don't. And he'll be like, hey, okay, hey Dave, thanks for the call today, but I'm gonna wait until fall. And then it's like, what's your go? And you're in front of like 30 people on Zoom, and you just have to kind of make it. He'll like literally be like, no, don't say that. Say this. Don't say that. That's dumb. Say this. And they're American, and I find the Americans don't mess around. Like they're more like, with their stuff. His course is amazing. I think it's called Smart Scripting. Is his business. I could be wrong. Is it right? I think that's right. Anyways, and then Exactly What to Say by Phil Jones. There's a normal one and a real estate agent one. They're both kind of similar, but super easy to read. And they're like, it's almost like a playbook. So the real estate one at the back has like cue cards almost, where it could be like, okay, you're calling a FSBO or you're calling whatever. The objection is this, say this. And it has like just little phrases and little words that you can use to like soften how you're doing things. And I think a lot of realtors right now, maybe we do believe that right now is a good time to buy, or right now maybe is a good time to sell for that individual client. And people are on the fence right now. So instead of being like argumentative and just learning to actually understand where they're coming from and like asking the right questions to see why they have the reasoning that they have, you can actually like uncover a lot of information from them. And then you can proceed from there once you get to like the root cause of like, everything they're thinking. So instead of arguing, be like, well, if the rates are high, but it's not gonna be forever, prices are low, like, well, you're crazy. You know what I mean? Like, don't argue with people, just find out why they think that, where they got that information, like, peel off the layers of the onion and get to the root of it. And then you can kind of, you know, help them from there.
Yeah, Exactly What to Say is an amazing book. I actually took, I went to New York City and did Phil's 2-day
you were saying
accreditation. Yeah, it was really good, really interesting. Learned a lot of stuff for sure.
You can fly through the audio book with the actual book is great too. If you just want to listen to that like on a morning walk before you make calls, it's great. Sure. One of the things that Ryan and I teach is neutral language, which is kind of like, you know, letting a little bit of air out of the balloon from a sales pressure perspective. And I think that book is really great to give you those plug and play neutral phrases. And you don't even necessarily need to learn everything in the book. It's like, can you pick up 5 things that really resonate with like your own personality? And that becomes kind of like, you know, a little bit of a flavor in your recipe, because the things that, you know, resonate with you guys in the book might not be the same as me. And so you don't have to use everything. If you read something and you're like, doesn't really sound like me, I'm not going to go with that. It's all good. You just have to figure out what your, you know, what your kind of like natural phrases are that you're comfortable with saying, but you definitely have to have some of those sprinkled throughout the scripting for sure.
Yeah. I think like there were some really, really cool ones in there. Like some that are just so simple. And it's like, how I never thought of saying that before. Like, and he explains why it works. And yeah, it's really good. Really good. Yeah.
That's a really good point, Emma, is like, I feel a lot of us take a course and sign up for a course or read a book or go to a mastermind or to a conference. And we all want to walk away like knowing every single thing out of that book or implementing every single thing out of that course or that program. And then we almost become like a robot and we're like trying to be that person's program, but then it's not authentic at all, right? Like, and we aren't ourselves and we're so in our heads about trying to do it the way that Tom does it because that's the way Tom taught it. Whereas if, as Emma said, you just take like 2, 3, 4, 5 things, 5 phrases or 5 keywords to use and implement them in your natural style, it's still you, but you're just becoming a better version of you rather than trying to become someone else that's not going to be natural. Because really in the first place, as you said, Dave, your clients are working with you because of, you know, you make the process fun, it's your personality. And if you try to be exactly like Dale, you know, I know Dale, it's not going to be you. That's not like you and Dale are not
very
the same at all. Right.
Yeah. The part B to that though, too, Ryan, is how many times have you heard someone take a course or pay for something and they're like, oh, that shit doesn't work. And it's because they're trying to implement everything. So they do nothing with it. They're like, this shit didn't work. I'm like, no, you didn't do anything with the thing. So, you know, I think having spent so much money and honestly, probably having had been there myself, what I've realized now is I'm just going to take 1 or 2 things from everything I pay for. And as long as I implement those 1 or 2 things, 9 times out of 10, they pay for themselves back. Like I did this course, Ryan knows, about a month ago, and it was $1,500 for an 8-week program. And on the first week, they gave me 1 PDF download. And the 1 PDF download is the thing that I'm able to implement for so many, like a variety of different things that I use within my business. And I'm like, he probably could have given me this PDF download for like $20, maybe for free as a lead magnet. But that one thing, I'm like, I actually don't give a shit about the 8 weeks. This thing has changed my business drastically. And so I think if you go in with that mind, you know, that mindset of like, I don't actually need to take everything. I just need to take the 1 or 2 things that are actually going to get me a return on what I spent on this thing. Then you will feel more comfortable investing in your business and continuing to like get knowledge from various different parties.
Yeah, you're right. It's true. Even with conferences, the same thing. I always tell like my team when they go to conferences, like you're not going to like every speaker. You're not going to agree with everything that everybody says. But if you take 1 or 2 things away from these conferences, that's why I always try to go to as many as I can. It's like I'll get 1 or 2 things that I can implement in my business, right? So you're right.
Yeah.
I agree.
I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to kind of talk about some crazy shit that has happened since you've transitioned into sales, because there's always crazy shit that happens in sales. First thing, what was your first? So, I mean, I know you were doing a lot of leases, but how did you transition that first person from lease to buy? Like, what did that process look like?
Yeah, my first sale, or like my first person from a renter to a buyer?
Yeah, yeah. Well, just your first sale in general. I want to know about that.
My first sale was a big one. It was a friend. We're still really good friends. I can't say much about him because I have an NDA signed with him. He's a very important dude. I met him through a friend, and he was like, basically like, look, I get realtors want to work with me all the time, so you're gonna give me some of your commission, or? And I was like, totally. Like, I don't care. He's actually a really nice
Good
guy.
objection handler.
Yeah. He's like, you want all of it?
Zero. Okay, whatever you want.
Take it all.
Free. Yeah, I just want to say I did a sale. No, he's a really good guy. Since then, like, he's bought multiple properties through me. It was $1.7 million, like in kind of downtown-ish Toronto. It was just like, it was good. It went okay because I had a team leader, but if I didn't have that team leader, it would be a disaster. I think the only like kind of issue that came about was, and I'll never forget it, because you know those one things where it happened once and you never ever forget it. I didn't connect the lawyers. Like, I didn't even ask who his lawyer was, and I didn't ask who the other guy's lawyer was. So his lawyer, this guy's like very, very wealthy, so his lawyer is a very good lawyer, just like absolutely tore into me for like 30 minutes. And I was like, I was like trying to blame everybody else. He's like, nope, you're the idiot. And I was like, all right,
thank you.
Got it. So never forgetting that again. But I think the coolest, like my first like sale that was like real was I had this girl. I tell this story all the time because I think it makes me like remember that not to judge people by a book by its cover, and just, you know, everybody, like, treat everybody the same. I had a girl who reached out to me. She was a student looking for a $1,200 a month basement rental. This was like 3-4 years ago. And I was like, fuck me, like $1,200. Like, and I was driving a Range Rover at the time, literally. And I remember driving, and it was in Scarborough. And I remember everyone telling me, you got to stop doing leases, man. Like, you don't need to do them anymore. And I was like, I know, but like, it's my baby, and she's really nice. And they're like, who cares about nice? Anyways, I got this girl a place, driving my, you know, expensive car around for a basement that I couldn't even fit in. There's like cobwebs in my face. And we got her the place. That was it. And I kept in contact with her very briefly. And then one day, like a year and a half later, I got a call from some guy, and he's like, hey, Dave, do you remember my daughter so-and-so? And I was like, oh, yeah, I do. He's like, cool, man. I just want to say thanks so much. She reached out to like 20 realtors. No one gave her the time of day because she's a student and you know, looking for cheap rentals. So I just want to say, like, we thank you so much for that. I actually have 3 daughters and a son. They're all in school. I'm from Ottawa, and I'm not doing that rental process ever again. So I'm going to buy them each a 1-bedroom condo. So can you help them with that? And I was like, yes, I can. And it was like, and we're still to this day where we chat quite often. And so it's kind of cool. Like, you know, it pays off to stay in touch and nurture and treat people like with respect. You know, sometimes I get some agents like, oh, it's only a $500,000 sale. Like, what are you going to get for that? I'm like, well, look for something, you know?
So $1,200 lease to 4 condos.
4 sales. Each were like $500,000-$600,000. So like, what's that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're looking at $2 million. So $1,200 to $2 million in sales from just saying yes to an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
It was cool.
I think, you know, every realtor's in a rush to stop doing leases. And even when I was at like the height of my sales career, when I was still focused on sales, doing like 50 to 60 resale transactions a year, I always had the goal to still do 1 lease a month, because I'm in the same boat. A lot of my biggest clients came from leases, and biggest transactions came from leases. Now, I got much more particular about the leases I do, like, you know, certain price point, ask all the right questions to find out how qualified they are, figure out, could it be a buy down the road, so on and so forth. But even with a lot of the agents that I coach right now that are at like the $300,000 to $600,000 in GCI a year mark, that kind of think they're above leases, I'm like, listen, leases are great because you're not always busy, but they keep you in the action of being out there, showing properties, doing research, negotiating deals, so that like when you have that lull in your buy and sell business, you keep that momentum. And momentum is so huge in our business. Like, as a coach, I see that's what crushes people, right? Is like, they have these highs where they do a ton of deals, but then they lose all their momentum prospecting. And then they go through like 6 months of like, I'm broke and I have no money. So I'm like, when you lose momentum on the sales, you keep that momentum by doing the odd lease. And if you're smart about it, those leases turn into huge deals and huge clients, just as you said.
Yeah. You know, what's funny? Like, I agree so much with that. Like, if I go like, say a few days without showing condos, I get into like, and that's not even a lot for me. I'm very motivated individual, but if I go like 2-3 days without showing a condo, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of, and then you have one person who wants to see 5. You're like, you know, and I'm like, that's 2 hours of my time to make, like, I got it. So like, I do the same thing. That's why I still do the odd lease more now. I'm on like the listing for the landlord side of things, but I still take on lease clients. Same thing. If they're super qualified and potential buyers, I'll take on leases to keep me, you said, in the game, motivated, out and about, so I'm not in my house all day, you know? Like,
yeah, totally.
I agree.
What's
that?
So I was gonna say, you mentioned being in a basement apartment, trying to get down there with cobwebs, and you know, doing 197 leases. I'm sure you saw some pretty crazy places. So, are there any houses or, you know, particular places that you've shown where you've seen anything just wild that blew your mind?
I have 3 that like come to mind. I had one, I had a family fly down from overseas. So they didn't know it was Canada Day. It was actually the day after Canada Day. And we showed a condo at the Bisha, and like the people inside were still partying. And like we got off the floor and I could hear like really loud music. And I was like, oh, please don't be the unit. And it was a family. It was like a husband, wife, and a kid. And we walked in and they were like super ripped. The guy opened the door, was like on another level. There was like 30 people inside, drugs everywhere. And my clients just flew to see this one unit. So they're like, I was like, you know what, we'll come back. And they're like, no, let's just do it. And we went through and there was like girls passed out everywhere, drugs everywhere. I walked into one at Lakeshore Park Lawn, and it said it was a girl. The guy was like, oh, there's a girl living there. She runs a business. Just like, be mindful. I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I knock on the door and the dude answered, like a weird dude. And I was like, oh, hey, just here for the showing. And he's like, oh, okay. And he like let me in. And there was another dude So basically she had like a rub and tug. So there was a dude like sitting there waiting to go next. And like there was a dude in the bedroom, and she had to like stop everything. Yeah, it was wild. And then just recently we had a guy, we showed a property to some of my new clients. So we went into this house, and the guy had like just nudes all over the wall, like old like Playboy nudes. And he was wearing like a hospital gown. Yeah, like pinups. And he's wearing a hospital gown, just like wet. And I was like, and we're like walked right in, and we're like, yeah. I was like,
what?
Hospital gown.
Wearing a hospital gown?
Yeah. And
that is
the
wild.
Upstairs people were nice. Like, he was an investor looking to turn it into 3 units, and the upstairs people were like normal, just like younger server girls. And I was like, what's with the guys downstairs? She's like, I don't know. He always wears that hospital gown. I was like, have you tried his house? She's like, oh yeah,
Dr. Pinup.
Yeah, I was like, okay. But yeah, that's we see silly, like crazy stuff like that all the time, just like gross things. But yeah.
What the real question is, did your clients buy any of those 3?
No, never. No.
No. So I think that says to all sellers out there, make sure you got good tenants, or like you broker some sort of deal with your tenants to get the place in good showing condition if you actually want to sell it.
Stage your property if you can.
Yeah,
take down all the
hire a
take
realtor
down nude women off the ground.
Yeah, if you have tenants inside there, it can really kill a deal. Even if they're good tenants, though, you know, like even if it's a good tenanted property, it's still like, especially if they stay. I had one recently where the guy worked from home, and it's not his fault. Like, I'm not saying he should leave his house; it's his house. But it's like, and he kept it clean. He was a clean guy. It was a nice condo, but he stayed. And like every feedback I got was like, well, they didn't really feel too comfortable. They're not going to open. They're not going to look inside things. They feel rushed, so it's tough, you know. But I mean, what can you do?
From a negotiation perspective, I want to ask you one more thing, and then we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up with the final questions here, Ryan. But you mentioned getting chirped by the lawyer. From a negotiations perspective, so we talked about the showings. Is there anything that comes to mind from like a ridiculous deal that had happened with an agent on the other side?
With an agent on the other side, like the agent was funny.
Yeah, because you know sometimes you deal with just ridiculous.
It doesn't have to be funny, just ridiculous. Like the worst agent you dealt with on the other side.
honest to God, there's a lot, and I'm trying to think of like the best one. It's crazy, like how I think the best one I can think of is I had a listing, and the girl essentially gave me a blank offer. It was like she had a price on it, but she was like, I don't really know how to fill out the rest, so thanks. Can you just do it for me? And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, like I don't have any idea how to do this. And I was like,
just a price.
Just the price and the names. And like, I don't know what it's like. I didn't know what anything was. She didn't put the parking on there. She didn't put locker on there. She just didn't like, and she wouldn't answer her phone. Like I'd be like calling her. She wouldn't answer. And I was like, you don't get it at all. Like you didn't ask anybody. Like you didn't ask your broker or anything. She just didn't put anything on there other than just price and the client's name. She straight up called me. This is my first deal. I don't know what I'm doing. So can you just fill it out for me and send it back? And I was like,
well, I'll plug a non-affiliated, we don't get paid for this software. If you don't know what the fuck you're doing as a realtor, you should get, and you're in Toronto, you should get Fast Offers.
The best.
The best. I know you use it too. I'm going to plug it because I'm telling you right now, it'll fill out your paperwork probably better than you do. And you won't be submitting blank offers and making yourself look like an absolute ass.
Like it takes two. I have my team on it because obviously I think there's a pro and a con. Like I talked to other team leaders and they were like, I don't let my new members use it because I want them to know how to do it manually, which I totally understand. And I think that's good. I always say to read it over, but they never do. But like the templates take so quick to like it takes you an hour to fill it out. And then for the rest of your life, you just got to push like 3 buttons. Man, it's the best.
I know. I can't speak highly enough about it. Yeah. That's why I'm like, you know what? Let's plug it. Let's plug it for him because you know what? I use it regularly. My team uses it. I know you use it too, Dave. So if you're an agent,
right?
Yeah.
I was his mentor for years.
That's right.
He was like, when he was 23, we hired him over from Remax. And then like, he was a good agent, but then was so into tech. So like before like Follow Up Boss was able to do automations, he would like custom build out. He had this other app called Sailor because at condos.ca, our CRM was garbage and we didn't have automations. So I had to teach people how to do everything manually themselves and set all these reminders and tasks in our CRMs and set up all their templates for each email that they'd have to send when the task came up. And he like went out and built out a whole automation system for lead follow-up for all the condos.ca agents. So then I got him when I was this SVP of sales there, I got him brought on as like, he's like now the like product manager for all technology for realtors. So that he was an awesome realtor as well before, also like you, Dave, like was willing to hustle a ton of leases to find buy and sell deals. And he was just like, how can I make this job easier? And Fast Offers came up. So yeah, huge plug to Fast Offers for all of you new agents listening. Get Fast Offers. It will save you a ton of time. So now to kind of switch lanes, Dave, and just kind of motivate people a little bit. I know people would never know this because even when you didn't even have 2 pennies to rub together, you like to flex on IG like you were a baller. But what has a career in sales been able to do for your life? Like, how much of things changed for you, just to like kind of motivate everybody out there of what can change in your life if you really get focused on sales and try to get good at your craft and master the craft, how your life can change.
Yeah. Okay. That's a really good question. I'll keep it short, but it's so true. Like, my parents are super middle class. Like I said, I come from nothing. I didn't know what like Gucci, Louis Vuitton was until like, honestly, 6-7 years ago. Like, people, I come to Toronto, I'm like, what is so cool about this guy's shoes? They're like, those are $5,000 shoes. I'm like, are you nuts? To me, I was a small town farmer kid, like thinking these guys are crazy. But anyways, first I'll start with saying, if you're a realtor, because I'm experiencing it with the people on my team, and you're on like year 2, 3, and it's a weird time in real estate right now for sure. I think even you guys can agree. I think you've both been in this longer than I have, but it's been very volatile lately. Like the ups are up and the downs are down. It seems to be like higher and lower than normal. But the people on my team that I'm dealing with are at their 2-year mark. It's like, I get why agents quit after 2 years because they get to this leasing fatigue or like buyer agent fatigue. It's like, it does happen. I really genuinely don't believe there's no shortcuts in real estate. If there were shortcuts, we would all be the richest people in the world. Unfortunately, it comes down to just grinding it out, putting in the work to nurture people, building meaningful relationships, going out, meeting people, and this genuinely meeting people, building and creating relationships, but nurturing those relationships. That's the only way to get successful in this business tree. But the reason real estate changed my life like crazy. If you talk to like my high school, like, science teacher, they'd be like, I thought that guy was going to be a homeless human being. Like, you show them what I make now and what I'm doing with my life now. They would never even believe you in a million years if you told most of the people from my hometown. I had no entrepreneurial skills. I had no real concept of like financial literacy. I had no real concept of business. And I think real estate opens your door to a lot of those things. And I think most importantly for me, real estate's allowed me to sit at tables with people that I probably shouldn't have any business sitting at that table. And when you sit at the tables with those people, it really opens your eyes to how these people are just different. They're built different. They operate different. And you're able to listen to how they speak and how they live and how they've got there. And the cool thing is, I found in my experience, when you're around people that are better than you, wealthier than you, better than you in a lot of ways, they're usually willing to pull you up to get to their level. It's the people that are below you that want to bring you down. But like the old saying, it's like if you hang around 4 millionaires, you'll be the fifth. If you hang around 4 losers, you'll be the fifth. But for me, the biggest thing that real estate changed my life was meeting unbelievable people, building really cool relationships with like some really like high net worth people. I'm not even saying money is everything, but it's just crazy to see how some of these people live. And then I just went to Greece with some super wealthy people that are doing all better than me. And I see them like the way they're living, and I'm like, this is like normal for you guys. Like, you just come here and spend 40K, like no problem. I'm like, man, like I got work to do, And the cool thing about real estate is the ceiling. There's no ceiling. You want to work as hard as you want to work. You want to make as much money as you want to make. There's really no ceiling. You want to make $200,000 a year, you can. You want to make 5 million, you can. It's just you got to put the work in to do it. And yeah, I think that's for me. Like, I don't come from any background I'm not the smartest person in the world. I was never, my high school teachers weren't like, this kid's going to university and Harvard, like that wasn't. I was good at gym class. My parents knew, like my parents had no financial literacy whatsoever. They have no idea about investing. Not to shit on my mom will watch this for sure. I love my mom and my dad, but they have no idea about how to build wealth, how to build generational wealth, how to invest in. My mom doesn't have a single penny invested in anything other than her primary residence. So it showed me so much and opened so many doors for me. And honest to God, life's unbelievable. Like it just keeps getting better. So I'm hoping that, knock on wood, that just continues that trend, but we'll see.
Well, you're taking us to
fired me up.
Yeah, what's that?
I said, when are you taking us to Greece with you?
Yeah, I gotta recoup from that trip. That's for sure. I was trying to play with the big boys. It was good. No, it was good. Like, no, it's true though, right? And I meet cool people like you guys. Like, honest to God, though, you meet so many cool people. And the cool thing about real estate is that everyone does it so differently. There's a billion ways to do and run your business. And
good advice,
right? Like the way I run my team is way different than the way someone else runs their team, and it works. Justin Bregman is a prime example. The guy's making like, almost $1 million a quarter, genuinely. Doesn't even have a CRM. So when him and I talk and share ideas, it's like, I think he's crazy. He thinks I'm crazy, but we share ideas, and I take 1 or 2 things. He takes 1 or 2 things from me. And, there's a million ways to be successful in real estate. And again, like you meet really cool people like yourselves and build like genuine friendships, like, which is really cool.
So what is Bregman's #1 secret to and he's only been in the business probably a little bit long, like about the same as you, 6 or 7 years. I remember because I used to work with his business partner, David Zemmelman. Mm-hmm. And I remember when David interviewed Bregman, and he's like, I'm going to hire this guy that I think is going to be a killer. And I was like, why do you think he's going to be a killer? And he was like, I had a meeting with this guy, and the next day I have a handwritten thank you card at my office waiting for me, just like really pumping my tires and making me feel great. And I'm like, if he does this with clients, he's just like, there's something about this guy, he's going to kill it. And
yeah, he's got like a natural knack to be able to like place people in properties. It just makes sense. He'll see a property and be like, I have someone for that. And I'll give him credit. Like, I'm a big phone call person myself. I genuinely I always have at least 2 hours a day of prospecting, where I'm trying to hit at least 30 calls a day. That's just my goal. I'm a big fan and believer of calling. Some people don't believe in it. It's everyone's different, but he is literally on the phone from 9 a.m. You do? You like calls?
What? I'm the king. Like that's
all you know we do.
We're talking here. Both of us, condos.ca and Zoocasa, all we did was call people.
Yeah, it's see, I have a girl on my team, she's gonna watch this, and she's terrified of phone calls. And I'm like, she did everything to I know. I'm working on her. She could be a killer. She is good, but she can be great. But Bregman's on the phone I'll go to the office, our North York one, and he's in there pacing around the office on the phone from 9 till 6 o'clock, like just nonstop calling. He's got a little book with people's names in it and shit. I don't know, man. He's just a freak of nature.
We should all shadow Bregman for a day.
I think I'd be, yeah. You'd be annoyed. You'd put on music or something because he talks all day. That's all right.
That's all right. I think we've all been there on the phones. We can do a little plug for SalesGenius if you want, Ryan, because by the time this gets posted, that'll be out. So go ahead.
Go for it. So SalesGenius is our new program that's training people how to speak on the phones, to take whether it's a lead, no matter what the source, open house, door knocking, online lead, wherever you got a phone number, to turn phone numbers to contacts, to conversations, to relationships, and to transactions. It's a course at Emma and I. It's like a compilation of all we've learned over our 30 years in sales, and specifically, over 20 years in real estate sales just on the phones. So that will be out by the time this podcast is out. So you guys should check out SalesGenius. Dave, if you like Dale's stuff, you're gonna love this. We'll give you a little sneak peek for you and your team.
That's huge. I think we need that. I would love that. Like, I know, send me information on that, because my team needs that desperately. So
because we looked at the marketplace and we were like, there's a million products out there right now to teach everyone how to get leads, right? Yeah. Or a million people selling you leads. And then there's a million people now with AI being like, oh, I've got an AI follow-up plan for you. But it's just as you said, if you really want to sell, you need to be able to talk to people on the phone and in person to really convert these leads at the highest level to get the most out of your money. Like Bregman, $1 million a quarter, he's just on the phone all day. Yeah. Right.
You know what's funny? I had a girl interview for my team, and she said the word leads in different ways like 15 times. And I stopped the interview and I was like, you said the word leads to me now 15 times. I'm like, here, open your computer. I was like, I have like 600 Facebook leads in my inbox right now. I'll email them to you right now. You got 600 leads. Seriously? I was like, yeah, what are you going to say to those leads? You've never made a cold call in your life. Wouldn't you find more value learning how to speak to these leads and how to convert these leads than me giving you 600 leads? Like, what are you going to do with them? You're going to call them once and forget about it anyway and blow it. So how will you learn to like properly convert the leads, have the proper conversations? So that's a cool idea what you guys did.
That's ultimately our goal, right? Like, if we could boil down to like what our actual mission is, it's how to actually help agents get a return on their ad spend, because way too many agents spray and pray with their marketing. Like, it's so interesting to me, right? When you talk to investors, they're like, okay, I'm going to put this amount of money in and I know I'm going to get this out. Like, obviously there's some inherent risk, et cetera, but like, I understand the probability is extremely likely that if I put $1 in, I'm going to get more money out. Real estate agents are like, I'm just going to try this shit. I expect that it's not going to work. Like, the first thing is they're like, it probably won't work. And you're like, that is not investing in your business. And so our mission is to be able to give people the confidence to actually invest in their business and to be able to grow it, instead of just spraying and praying with marketing and then just praying one deal comes in to pay for you shouldn't have one deal come in to pay for your marketing. Your marketing should go in to the machine and give you a ton of deals out on the other side. But if you just have leads coming in and then you just have some like half-assed, pre-written follow-up that was done by AI, like, don't get me wrong, I am a proponent of both of those things. I'm a massive proponent of both those things. But the bridge that connects the two things, the conduit that connects the two things, is you being able to speak to a human being. Big time. And what do you say on the phone? And so our job is to teach you what has worked for us over, me being about 10 years and Ryan being just over 10 years, exclusively on the phones. And it actually kind of brings me full circle to what you had mentioned before, which was like using leases as the like laying the foundation of the house for your business, right? And to me, my kind of thought process has always been very similar about the phones and online leads, where I'm like, listen, you can do the leases if you want to. It's a great strategy that works. You had mentioned there's several different ways to build your business. Mine was a similar mentality with a different vehicle to get there, and that was get really fucking good on the phones and get a base layer of clients. And then once you like the moral of the story for both of us is like, I don't care how you get there, but you need to build your base layer of clients, because if you don't build your base layer of clients quick enough, you don't get that like natural repeat and referral. You're constantly hustling. And that is why most people leave, sub 3 years. So I don't give a shit how you get there. I'm telling you, you can get there with leases. Dave has proven it. Ryan and I have proven it with online leads and getting good on the phones, but you don't just pay for leads on the internet and then that just turns into dollars. There's like some other shit that happens in between. And if you want to know how to do it, we can teach you. There's no pressure to do it, but it will be there in the marketplace available because we see there being a need there.
And it's for anyone, Mike. It's not just for people paying for leads, because listen, whether you're paying for online leads with a marketing budget, I have realtors say this to me all the time, like, oh, I don't spend money on marketing. And I'm like, okay, so what do you do to get clients? And whether it's, oh, I work open houses, or, I network and work my sphere of influence, or door knock, you're not spending money, but guess what? You're spending your time. And this is what they all forget, is your time is money, right?
Yeah.
And so what's the value of your time? And if you're not, the phone numbers or contact information you get from any of these marketing tactics, whether they're traditional or more modern, cost you your time, which is money. And if you're not doing the right things to turn those into clients, you're wasting your time, which is wasting your money. So
no, you're right. I know my coach, when I hired him, I know we're going off for too long here, but my coach, when I hired him, he was like, went through my database and was like, dude, you have, we calculated the number. It was honestly, I think it was like $18,000 worth of Facebook and paid leads in my database that have been contacted less than 3 times, which is like you said, I didn't know what to do. Every agent does what I did. I'll spend $1,000 a month on Facebook ads. I'll pay this company to do this. And you call them once or twice and that's it. And you're like, didn't work.
Never going to work.
Never going to work.
I mean, it'll work, but small percentage. You're not going to get a great ROI. And we're all looking for ROI. And that's why we've all built successful real estate businesses.
Yeah. The mindset shift on it is not that it doesn't work. It's like, I don't know how to work it yet. Yeah. Right. And so it's, can you figure out a way to make it work? Not, it doesn't work, because if other people are doing it, clearly there's some proof of concept out there. It's just, are you going to be willing to put your ass and your time on the line to actually learn how to, develop those skills? And the sad reality of this industry is that people see, selling sunset, they're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna go sell like, a $40 million house. That if this chick can do it, I can do it. I'm like, they're like actually a hell of a lot smarter than they look like they are on TV. You know what I mean? And so it's like, for you to just, for you to expect that you're going to come into this industry and then all of a sudden your mom's going to sell your family home that she's lived in for the last, that you grew up in, and she has no intention of selling. You're like, okay, I got my license. You're going to sell now? And they're like, no, we're not moving for a long time. You got to figure out a different way to make it work. And unfortunately that, or I think fortunately, there's a lot of great opportunities to develop your skills. And I think that very few people are willing to invest the time to actually learn how to do the phone thing. And so if you just invest, that a lot of people aren't going to do it. So if you just are the person that knows how to do it, you'll do way better than everybody else.
So Dave, we've taken up enough of your time. Thank you so much for joining us today on Pipeline Profits. If you have one last parting piece of advice for all of our listeners when it comes to sales, what would it be? I mean, you gave a ton of value already today. So if you're out, if we've tapped you out, I think
Emma had a good point, though. It's true. It's if you want to be the best at what you do, you have to work on the craft and you have to master your craft. If it doesn't just come naturally. So if you want to be the best, you have to work on it and put the time in to actually see the results. So it doesn't just come. Real estate doesn't just happen. Sure, some people, but you have to put the work in, master your craft, know your market.
Love it. And with that, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, please like and share. We obviously don't run any ads other than what we plugged today internally within this particular pod. But if you liked it, please share this and help us spread the word to make more agents more money through the art and the skills of sales and marketing.